plant nerds, it's Krista with Botanical Bird, and this week I want to talk about a couple of propagations I have going, as well as propagate a new plant. So I think the first thing I'll do is I will propagate this Monstera Thai that I have, and there's also, I think it's a golden pothos that I have in here too, so I don't know what I'm going to do with that. I might leave that in here for now and then propagate it and stick it in something else, or give it to a friend. Maybe I'll propagate it and give it to a friend. I like that idea. But the main thing for this pot is chopping and propping this Monstera Thai. And I just got this recently from someone off of a local plant purge page, and they had really reasonable prices, and I went and I picked it up. And I really like that it's trailing, but since it's only 1 or 2 strands, I'd rather propagate it and have it look more compact in a pot. So things I'm gonna need under here, I have my propagation mat, I need my shears, and then a vessel with water in it. So just to start, I'm gonna find a node, which I've gone into depth on propagating for soil propagating and water propagating in my Propagation Nation video. I think it was towards the beginning of my YouTube channel. So if you're on YouTube, I'll put it up in the cards now, and if you're on Instagram, I will link it below. But basically, I want to make sure that each cutting has a node on it, and if you want to know what that is, I would look back at that video. But basically, I want to make sure that I'm giving these plants as high chance to survive as possible. So, wow, there's a lot of leaves on here. I'll cut that one here. I'll cut this here. And I'm gonna make as many cuttings as I feel that's possible, because some aren't gonna root out. And so I wanna give the plant as good of a chance of survival as possible. Ooh, that one has an aerial root. Aerial roots are definite pluses. Oh no, can I pull it out of the soil? They're definite pluses because it's basically already an access point for that plant to get nutrients in whatever medium you pot it or house it. This one I'm planning on water propagating because I really like water propagation. I find it a lot more simple than soil propagation, but then you have to worry about the whole transferring from water to soil eventually. Are these connected? I think this aerial root might connect it to the other side of the plant. That's so interesting. All right, well, I'm gonna make a cut on the aerial root. I made sure to cut where the petiole could meet the stem, and that's where the node is, and that's where the roots are gonna grow out of. So that's why it's so important. Wow, this one might just have to be its own thing. Should I cut these roots off? I feel like that would be stupid. I think I'm not gonna cut the roots. This might be able to be potted already. Maybe I'll pot this into a pot and then water propagate those and then just add them to the pot. So I have all of these cuttings. I might as well cut this off because there's no leaf attached to it. Here we go. All right, so all of these cuttings, and then I also have this piece. So I'm gonna go get the things I need for that little pot because I wasn't anticipating doing that. Since I am only potting up this one super rooted cutting right now, because I think this was the one that was mostly in the soil, I am gonna put it in a 4 or maybe a 6-inch pot, maybe the 6-inch. Since this is just a smaller cutting, I don't want to repot it in that big one because it could be too big and then the soil could hold more moisture than what the plant needs, and then I could give it root rot. So we are going to switch this up. So I'm just going to line the bottom with soil, and then I'm going to place the plant in and then kind of just try to cover the roots with soil, kind of weigh it down, maybe pack it a little bit, but I don't want to pack it down too much and prevent oxygen from getting to the roots. Okay, so this is definitely rocking a lean, for sure. It's not standing straight up, which if I wanted, I could maybe pin it. I could honestly get a bobby pin and just pin it, or I could tie it to a stake or something, or I could just let it flop down like that. I think I might bobby pin it like this so that it at least, so like the leaves can get more light than if they were flopping down. That's a negatory on the bobby pins. I don't have a single one. So I will just get some from the store and pin that down next time. But for the rest of the cuttings, I have this vase and I'm gonna I'm gonna fill the bottom with water and I'm gonna stick all of the cut ends into it. So now, I'm gonna scooch you over. Now I'm just gonna grab all of those cuttings and put them cut side down in here. And I might have to fill up the water more because I didn't leave a whole lot of room on the bottom of the stem. Or really, I want to make sure that the node's underwater because that's where the roots will grow from. And like all of these aerial roots, I don't know if you can see those right back here kind of. These aerial roots are awesome because they're already like roots that have already grown. And so hopefully they will get longer after being in water. And I might fill this up a little bit more with water and then we'll be done with that. And I like how cuttings look when they're in a water vessel. That one is propagated and I'm gonna wait until the root system on those look long enough to support the leaves. So basically I wanna make sure that they're several inches long and they can stay in there for a really long time. And then when they're ready, I will take those cuttings and this rooted part of the plant and put it in that the bigger pot that they all came in. So that is the Monstera Adansonii. Now I want to show you guys. Okay, so what I used to have in that water vessel was my Monstera deliciosa cutting. So this is very ready to be potted. Look at all these roots. I'm so proud of this. So kind of a sad story. I am historically not great at caring for Monstera deliciosa. I know that they're known as a very easy, low maintenance plant, that they can tolerate low light, but I'm just not great at it. And it's okay. You know what? If you are not great at caring for a type of plant that everyone says is so easy, don't listen to them. It is okay. We all have our strengths and areas for improvement. But my Monstera, it was doing okay on light. I think it got a pest. And so it was like this big plant, had all these leaves, and then it got a pest and I was trying to treat it for it. And all of the new leaves, such as this one, only had like a couple fenestrations. And then it got sunburnt, I think, because I put it outside. And so I just had kind of given up on the plant and thought, you know what, at the very least I can try to propagate part of it so it's not a complete loss. So I stuck this leaf in water. I think it was in like July. I have the date written down somewhere and now it's October and this new leaf came out and it has 2 fenestrations. Both sides aren't fenestrated, but that's okay. This was a rehab plant, so I am very proud of it. And all of these roots came out. So it's just been sitting in that water vessel for months and months, and I think it is about time that we pot it up. So let me clean off my workstation. I have this pot I want to put it in. And so this is a little bit of a struggle. Since I had it propagating in water, I have to be careful with transferring it to soil because it's used to a very water-rich environment and the soil is not going to be as moist, obviously, as the water. So as it's transitioning, I'm going to want to keep the soil a little bit more moist than I normally would for fear of root rot, but now it's because I'm transitioning it from very, very wet to a lot more dry. So this pot is maybe even a little bigger than what I would normally choose, and I'm hoping that that will help with the transition of like a bigger pot will hold more moisture because there's more soil, right? So I'm hoping that this will help, and I really like how this looks together. So I'm gonna line the bottom with soil. And then I'm gonna stick the plant in. And I'm gonna try to keep the roots I'm not gonna compress it very far. I kind of want to keep the roots as springy as they currently are. Okay, so I think this is done. Dun, da, da, da. Oh, it's got a lean too. I might tie this one to a stake, but I'm really excited. I hope that will continue to grow. And then next, I also kind of just want to show you another water propagation I have going of a Sansevieria that I'm just so happy about. I have never propagated Sansevieria before, And I had this one that was just getting so full and honestly kind of gangly. Like the leaves were getting so long and top heavy that they were folding. And so I decided to propagate it. And it didn't work for all of the leaves I had cut. I had to, some of them were rotting, so I had to cut farther up the leaf, or just, I think some I even threw away. But I want to show you what they look like now with some roots. Oh no, with some roots at least. Look at that, isn't that cool? And like some of them even have babies growing. That light green part are like Sansevieria babies. Let me show you another one. And I'm gonna move, I don't think they're ready to be propagated yet, but I am gonna move them into kind of like more separate glasses, because the bottom of this glass is a lot more narrow than the top, and all of them being in there together, the roots are kind of getting curled and being pushed up instead of kind of growing more straight. And in a pot, I don't think that's gonna matter, but for me, wanting to know when it's time to pot them up, I kind of wanna know how long the roots are, and it's hard to do in this sort of glass. So I'm only gonna put like, maybe like 1 or 2 together. So I kind of just wanted to share that with y'all because I feel like it was a big success. So I'm really happy that these have come out so well. But I think I'm gonna let them keep growing, their roots to keep growing for a while, because especially with it being my first time, there's a higher likelihood that I'm gonna kill it. And so I wanna give it as long as possible in the water where it's happy and without my interference. Next, let me dump that. I wanna show you another thing I've been doing for root growth. Not exactly propagation, but I have this Monstera Thai constellation, RIP. It used to have like 5 beautiful leaves. I overwatered it. Like I said, Monstera is like not my thing, but I was hoping I could do better. And then I think I underwatered it. So the classic combo of like overwatering with underwatering. And I then stuck it in water to kind of rehab it, but the roots were kind of starting to get all mushy and like rot maybe even more. And with that, I decided that I would propagate it or put it in sphagnum moss. And I think like the magical thing about sphagnum moss is that it allows more oxygen to the roots, and it's water absorbent, but then it dries really quickly. So this is another method for propagation. In my first propagation video, I didn't talk about sphagnum moss because I wasn't used to it yet. So I want to kind of share about it now. And like I said, this is for rehab purposes, but you can also do it for propagation. So what I did is I'll take it out. I'm gonna get sphagnum moss everywhere, but that's okay. So I have my very pitiful stem with what's left of roots, and they're very thick, but they were starting to rot at the ends. So I cut the ends, and I actually brought my rooting hormone because I figured I'd put them in that right now, just to kind of encourage more root growth. So if you have this, like same thing for propagation, will it fit in here? No, okay. I will pour some out and roll it in it. Same for propagation. If you have your cuttings, you can dip the nodes or the ends of the cutting in rooting hormone. I'm just gonna try to get as much on here as I can. And then fill a pot with sphagnum moss that's moist. So I'll usually fill it up with sphagnum moss, and then I will mist it with water. And then you kind of nestle it inside, part way down, not all the way, but enough where it's not gonna fall out. And so for this, I really had to pack it down, because this is very top heavy. And then as I mentioned in my first propagation video, I like to use a quote unquote humidity bag, AKA Ziploc bag, to keep the environment more moist, which will also promote more root growth, which is good. So I spray the inside of the pot as well as inside the bag. So I'm gonna put it in here. And then with my water bottle, I spray the sphagnum moss and the inside of the bag. And then I partially close the bag to try to keep in moisture, but not all the way, because 1, the stem is in the way, and 2, you do want air to get to it. If no air gets in there, you're gonna cut off the roots from oxygen, and then they'll definitely rot. So That is another method for either plant rehab, which I'm using it for, or plant propagation. So that was my video today on propagating a couple of plants I have, showing you where some of my current propagations are, and then just another method to propagate. If you guys have any questions or comments about anything you saw today, please put them in the comments below. And if you like this video, please subscribe to this YouTube channel, which is Botanical Bird, and bird has a U in it, not an I, and follow my planty Instagram, which is at botanical_bird. Thanks for watching, and remember, I'm rooting for you. Bye.